अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद। मोमिन तशरीफ़ रखें, जश्न ईद गदीर शुरू हो चाहता है। रिक्वेस्टिंग एवरीवन टू प्लीज सिट डाउन सो वी कैन स्टार्ट द मिलाद। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद। रिक्वेस्टिंग अस्करी फॉर कसीदा और मोहम्मद। अस्करी बुला दे, अस्करी और मोहम्मद, एनीवन इज आउट देयर? थैंक यू। इस कमिंग संडे को मजलिस अज़ा भट्ट साहब की वालदा की बरस इसारे सवाब के लिए तमाम मोमिन शुक्र दुआ है। क़िबला रेहान नक़वी मजलिस से ख़िताब फरमाएंगे। शुक्रिया। रिक्वेस्टिंग मोहम्मद फॉर कसीदा।
दुरूद भेजिए।
अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद।
जिंदगी हालते नमाज़ में है, जिंदगी हालते नमाज़ में है, आगही हालत नमाज में है, जिंदगी हालत नमाज में है। कर रहा हूँ बयां अली की सदा, कर रहा हूँ बयां अली की सदा, शायरी हालत नमाज में है, जिंदगी हालत नमाज में है। मुझको सिखला रही है नादे अली, मुझको सिखला रही है नादे अली। माँ मेरी हालत नमाज में है, जिंदगी हालत नमाज में है। ऐ खुदा बच गई तेरी तौहीद, ऐ खुदा बच गई तेरी तौहीद। खुद अली हालत नमाज में है, जिंदगी हालत नमाज में है। दुरूद भेजिए। कदम कदम पे अली को पुकारते रहना, कदम कदम पे अली को पुकारते रहना। रवां है कश्तियाँ ईमान सी सहारे से, न रुक सकेगी ये जुल्मों सितम के धारे से। अली के नाम पे लग जाएगी किनारे से, अली के नाम पे लग जाएगी किनारे से। हर एक मौज से साहिल उभारते रहना, قدم قدم پہ علی کو پکارتے رہنا، رہے حیات میں منزل کو ڈھونڈنے والوں، تلاش حق میں نہ در در کی ٹھوکریں کھاؤ، ہماری مانو تو سوئے نجف چلے آؤ، ہماری مانو تو سوئے نجف چلے آؤ، اس آستانے پہ قسمت سوارتے رہنا، قدم قدم پہ علی کو پکارتے رہنا۔ علی ہے نام خدا، علی ہے نام خدا اور اسم اعظم ہے، یہی وہ نام ہے جس پر بقائے عالم ہے، علی ہے نام خدا اور اسم اعظم ہے، یہی وہ نام ہے جس پر بقائے عالم ہے، خدا کے گھر میں جو بھرا وہ نقش محکم ہے، خدا کے گھر میں جو بھرا وہ نقش محکم ہے، یہ نقش دل میں ہر ایک کے اتارتے رہنا، قدم قدم پہ علی کو پکارتے رہنا۔ خدا گواہ ہے ذکر علی عبادت ہے، عمل یہ نیک ہے سب سے بڑی سعادت ہے، علی کے نام پہ موت آئے تو شہادت ہے، علی کے نام پہ موت آئے تو شہادت ہے، نزا کے وقت بھی اس کو پکارتے رہنا، جیو حیدری علی، خدا گواہ ہے ذکر علی عبادت ہے، عمل یہ نیک ہے سب سے بڑی سعادت ہے، علی کے نام پہ موت آئے تو شہادت ہے، نزا کے وقت بھی اس کو پکارتے رہنا، قدم قدم پہ علی کو پکارتے رہنا۔ نہ کوئی غزوہ خیبر میں جب کہ کام آیا، رسول پاک کے لب پر علی کا نام آیا، ادھر زباں ہلی تھی، درود بھیجیے اللہم صلی یا علی۔ نہ کوئی غزوہ خیبر میں جب کہ کام آیا، رسول پاک کے لب پر علی کا نام آیا، ادھر زباں ہلی تھی ادھر امام آیا، ادھر زباں ہلی تھی ادھر امام آیا، کہ جس کا کام ہے بگڑی سوارتے رہنا، قدم قدم پہ علی کو پکارتے رہنا۔ صلوات
ماشاءاللہ محمد، قدم قدم پہ علی کو پکارتے رہنا۔ نام تسلیم عسکری و قصیدہ عسکری۔ اللہم صلی اس سنڈے کو بٹ صاحب کی والدہ کی اثار ثواب کی مجلس ہے، قبلہ ریحان نقوی خطاب فرمائیں گے، وقت مندر کے مجلس ادا کی 5 بجے شروع ہو جائے گی۔
بھائی محمد آل محمد صلوات۔ ایک اور سلوات دیجیے۔ نہ بھول کے نہ بھول کے بھی کبھی تم کسی کی باتیں کرو، نہ بھول کے بھی کبھی تم کسی کی باتیں کرو، علی کا ذکر کرو، بس علی کی باتیں کرو، نہ بھول کے کسی کا نفس کسی کا وسیع اور کسی کا کفی، کسی کا نفس کسی کا وسیع اور کسی کا کفی، یہ سب صفات ہو جس میں اسی کی بات کرو، علی کے نقش قدم کا میں ذکر کرتا ہوں، علی کے نقش قدم کا میں ذکر کرتا ہوں، تم اس کے ساتھ ہی دوش نبی کی بات کرو، یہ ذکر نبی ہے، یہی ذکر خدا، یہ ذکر نبی ہے، یہی ہے ذکر خدا، علی کے ہوتے ہوئے کیوں کسی کی بات کرو، لحد میں میری اندھیرا ہو غیر ممکن ہے، لحد میں میری اندھیرا ہو غیر ممکن ہے، جہاں علی ہو وہاں روشنی کی بات کرو، ازل سے ساقیے کوثر سے ہوں میں وابستہ، ازل سے ساقیے کوثر سے ہوں میں وابستہ، نہ میرے آگے کسی تشنگی کی بات کرو، فرشتوں نے کیسا سوال و جواب طیبت میں، فرشتوں نے کیسا سوال و جواب طیبت میں، اب آ گئے ہو تو بیٹھو علی کی بات کرو، نہ بھول کے بھی کبھی تم کسی کی بات کرو، صلوات۔
Thank you, Asghar. Now question, Chaman bhai ko qasida. بٹ صاحب کی والدہ مجلس نیکسٹ سنڈے کو ہے, ناٹ دس ون, نیکسٹ سنڈے انشاءاللہ قرآن خوانی شروع ہوگی 5 بجے, پھر اس کے بعد ریحان نقوی صاحب مجلس سے خطاب فرمائیں گے. بعد قرآن صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد.
صلوات بھیجیے گا پر محمد و آل محمد. اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد. استاد قمر جلالوی صاحب کا ایک سلام ہے, اس کے ایک چند اشعار ہیں, شاید آپ کے سامنے پہلے پیش کیا ہو کبھی ایسا. بیٹھا ہے مشکلات کے رستے پہ ہار کے, بیٹھا ہے مشکلات کے رستے پہ ہار کے, او بد نصیب دیکھ علی کو پکار کے, او بد نصیب دیکھ علی کو پکار کے, بیٹھا ہے مشکلات. ہم سے قدم چھڑا دے شہزی وقار کے, ہم سے قدم چھڑا دے شہزی وقار کے, دنیا اسی میں مر گئی سر مار مار کے, او بد نصیب دیکھ علی کو پکار کے, او بد نصیب دیکھ علی کو پکار کے. ہیں بستر رسول پہ حیدر یہ کب کھلا, ہیں بستر رسول پہ حیدر یہ کب کھلا, انگڑائی جب کے لی شب ہجرت گزار کے, انگڑائی جب کے لی شب ہجرت گزار کے, بیٹھا ہے مشکلات کے. یہ معجزہ ہے عرش پہ آئے گئے رسول, یہ معجزہ ہے عرش پہ آئے گئے رسول, نقش قدم مگر نہ ملے راہ گزار کے, نقش قدم مگر نہ ملے راہ گزار کے, بیٹھا ہے مشکلات کے. شعر سنیے گا. مرحب کا قتل بھی کوئی خیبر میں قتل تھا, مرحب کا قتل بھی کوئی خیبر میں قتل تھا, پھینکا تھا ذوالفقار کا صدقہ اتار کے, یا علی یا علی مرحب کا قتل بھی کوئی خیبر میں قتل تھا, مرحب کا قتل بھی کوئی خیبر میں قتل تھا, پھینکا تھا ذوالفقار کا صدقہ اتار کے، پھینکا تھا ذوالفقار کا صدقہ اتار کے، بیٹھا ہے مشکلات خیبر کا در ہوا تھا یہ ایک ایک سے کہہ کے بند، خیبر کا در ہوا تھا یہ ایک ایک سے کہہ کے بند، تم سے بہت سے مر گئے سر مار مار کے، تم سے بہت سے مر گئے سر مار مار کے، بیٹھا ہے مشکلات کے۔
کیا کہنے، واہ واہ واہ۔
خیبر کے در نے کھل کے اشارہ یہ کر دیا، خیبر کے در نے کھل کے اشارہ یہ کر دیا، مظہر یہی ہے قوت پروردگار کے، مظہر یہی ہے قوت پروردگار کے، بیٹھا ہے مشکلات کے۔ اچھا آخری شعر ہے، جانے سوال کیا ہوئے تربت میں قمر، جانے سوال کیا ہوئے تربت میں قمر، چپ ہو گئے تھے ہم تو علی کو پکار کے، چپ ہو گئے تھے ہم تو علی کو پکار کے، بیٹھا ہے مشکلات کے رستے پہ ہار کے، او بد نصیب دیکھ علی کو پکار کے۔ خلوات بھیجیں محمد و آل محمد کے نام،
اللہم صلی علی
محمد۔
محمد۔ بلند تر سلوات۔ او بد نصیب دیکھ علی کو پکار کے۔ نام ریکویسٹنگ حسنین بھائی کو قصیدہ، حسنین بھائی۔
ایک سلوات
صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔
تیغ حیدر کے مقابل کون ٹھہرا سر سمیت، تیغ حیدر کے مقابل کون ٹھہرا سر سمیت، ہو گیا منظر سے غائب اپنے بس منظر سمیت، ہو گیا منظر سے غائب اپنے پس منظر سمیت، وہ تو غیظ مرتضیٰ پر رحم غالب آ گیا،
کیا بات ہے،
وہ تو غیظ مرتضیٰ پر رحم غالب آ گیا، ورنہ اے جبریل کٹ جاتی زمین شے پر سمیت، ورنہ اے جبریل کٹ جاتی زمین شے پر سمیت، ہاتھ میں ایک پھول تتلی پھول سے لپٹی ہوئی، ہاتھ میں ایک پھول تتلی پھول سے لپٹی ہوئی، تھا یوں ہی اس ہاتھ میں خیبر کا در لشکر سمیت، تھا یوں ہی اس ہاتھ میں خیبر کا در لشکر سمیت، پہلے سر انتر کا کاٹا پھر کیا مرحب پہ وار، پہلے سر انتر کا کاٹا پھر کیا مرحب پہ وار، لاش مرحب کی گری لیکن سرے انتر سمیت۔ اور شعر دیکھیں کہ سو گئے کش شان سے تیغوں کے سائے میں علی، سو گئے کش شان سے تیغوں کے سائے میں علی، دوسرا ہوتا تو چل دیتا کہیں بستر سمیت، دوسرا ہوتا کوئی چل دیتا بستر سمیت، وہ تو قمبر نے مہار اونٹوں کی فوراً چھوڑ دی، وہ تو قمبر نے مہار اونٹوں کی فوراً چھوڑ دی، ورنہ کہہ دیتے علی لے جائیے قمبر سمیت علی، اور چڑھ کے جس منبر پہ کہتے تھے برا ہے در کو لوگ، چڑھ کے جس منبر پہ کہتے تھے برا ہے در کو لوگ، ڈالے جائیں گے جہنم میں اسی منبر سمیت، ڈالے جائیں گے جہنم میں اسی منبر سمیت، اس طرف لاکھوں کا لشکر سج رہا تھا اسلحے، اس طرف لاکھوں کا لشکر سج رہا تھا اسلحے، اور یہاں پر کل 72 تھے علی اصغر سمیت، اب خدائی میں بجز نام خدا کچھ بھی نہیں، رب نے سب کچھ دے دیا حیدر کو اپنے گھر سمیت، پنجتن کے پاک پنجتن کے نام جن کے بعد بانوں پر نہ ہو، پنجتن کے نام جن کے بعد بانوں میں نہ ہو، ڈوب جائیں گی وہ ساری کشتیاں لنگر سمیت، اصغر و اکبر کو دیکھا تو یہ بولی کربلا، اصغر و اکبر کو دیکھا تو یہ بولی کربلا، آ گئے ابن علی قرآن و پیغمبر سمیت، آ گئے ابن علی قرآن و پیغمبر سمیت، اور وقت ہے عشق کے آداب کوئی حر سے سیکھے اے سروش، عشق کے آداب کوئی حر سے سیکھے اے سروش، ڈال دی قدموں میں شے کے دولت دل سر سمیت، ڈال دی قدموں کے شے کے دولت دل سر سمیت، شکر تیغ حیدر کے مقابل کون ٹھہرا سر سمیت، ہو گیا منظر سے غائب اپنے پس منظر سمیت۔
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ۔ بعض بلند صلوات بھیجیں۔ ریکویسٹنگ قبلہ حمزہ سوداگر for his special lecture for the Eid Ghadeer and Jafaria Center, Connecticut. Qibla welcome you to come to, I think this is the first time Qibla is here. We are hoping that inshallah you come back again next time. Inshallah. آپ لوگ آگے آ جائیں تاکہ قبلہ کو آپ سننے میں تو آپ کو تکلیف نہ ہو، جو لوگ دیوار سے لگے ہیں سامنے آ جائیں پلیز، جو لوگ بات تشریف رکھتے ہیں ڈائننگ ایریا میں اندر تشریف لے آئیں، قبلہ ذریعے ممبر ہو گئے ہیں، جتنے ڈائریکٹر ہیں جعفریہ کے وہ سب اندر آ جائیں، اور رضوان بھائی اور کچھ بہت بلند سلوات۔
inshallah, it's good. Yes, inshallah, it's good. Inshallah, it's good. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا سيد الخلق أجمعين حبيبنا حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين المنتجبين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. For the hastening and the return of our Imam, let's recite a salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. It is a privilege to be amongst you in this center that is named after Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq. And inshallah you all have been and continue to be students of Imam as-Sadiq in this center, and we ask him to bless you all, and through and because of the dhikr of Ali that we heard, inshallah all of us are blessed, and hopefully the small short presentation relatively, I hope I don't go too far, stop me if it's too much. Inshallah, it will also be a dhikr of Ali, inshallah. Allah will accept, and Imam Ali, inshallah, will accept from all of you and all of us. And we ask him to guide the thoughts and the words of the speaker, inshallah, to what he's most pleased with. Recite a salawat. Eid al-Ghadeer has been mentioned to be and known to you all as Eidullah al-Akbar, the greatest Eid. Okay. An Eid that happens at the end of the mission of the Prophet in Hajjatul Wada'. Hajjatul Wada' is only a few months, a couple of months before the demise of the Holy Prophet. On the way back from Hajjatul Wada' in an area called Ghadeer, where a number of companions of the Prophet that had accompanied him from Medina and now are returning with him to Medina, along with others that had come from the south for Hajjatul Wada' that had not split ways yet. They joined in this area. The Prophet made it very clear that something extraordinary is to be mentioned. In the middle of a desert, Ghadeer is a small pond. That's what Ghadeer means. It's a small pond that gathers water from rain, seasonal rain, but it's an area, it's deep enough where usually when it rains you'll find some water there. People who are traveling are going to be stopping at that area, but it's nevertheless in the middle of the desert. It's not somewhere that they are accustomed to stopping. In the time of day that this occurred was not a time that they were prepared to stop. The Prophet stopped everyone. The Prophet stopped everyone. I know you've heard this story plenty of times, but I think it's important for us to go over some of the details, at least on Eid al-Ghadeer, if not at other times as well, and then draw conclusions. Missing the details and drawing conclusions based on ambiguous and unclear images of history is not going to be very productive. The Prophet makes it very clear this is extraordinary. The stop, the pause is not a location that you would normally stop at. And then he makes sure those who've moved ahead are called back. He waits for them in that heat in the middle of the desert, waiting for those who have not yet reached to reach so that he can give the people what he needs to give. Say to the people what he needs to say. This is part of the story of Ghadeer. Another part of the story of Ghadeer that we need to know is that the verse of the Quran that is about Ghadeer, is about the announcement of the wilayah of Ali ibn Abi Talib, or the wilayatullah on earth that manifests in the form of Ali ibn Abi Talib first, and then his son Hassan, and then his son Hussein, and then Ali ibn al-Hussein, all the way up to the 12th Imam, who is currently our Imam. Our wilayah is with the Imam of our time. Our wali is the Imam of our time. The announcement of wilayah, the concept of wilayah in Islam, the first time the verse is revealed for the Prophet to announce this, make this announcement to the people, is where? It's in Mina. When Mina? If you've been to Hajj, inshallah, some of you at least have, you know that the first stop for your a'mal is where? Arafat. After Umratul Tamattu', that you're done with that portion, then you enter Ihram. The first stop is Arafat on the 9th of Dhul Hajjah. Then you move on to Mash'arul Haram on the night of Eid. Then in the day you're going to arrive in Mina. This is not where it was revealed. There's another stop in Mina. The stop in Mina is prior to going to Arafat, not on the 9th, but on the 8th of Dhul Hajjah. Before the process of Hajj begins, the verse is revealed by the angel, Ya ayyuha rasul balligh ma unzila ilayk. This portion of it, according to the accounts, this portion of the verse is revealed. Ya ayyuha rasul balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik. O Prophet, O Messenger, deliver to the people what God has told you. But that's the only part that's revealed at this point. Another time after the a'mal are done in Mina, after the 10th, then the mu'mineen go back to where? To Mecca to perform their tawaf of ziyarah, they call it, their salatul tawaf, their sa'i, and then tawaful nisa. Then you have a couple of nights of mabit in Mina. These are the a'mal of Hajj. The Prophet did all of those in Mecca sometime, I can't remember the exact day, but after they come back to Mecca, again, that portion of the verse is revealed. Ya ayyuha rasul balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik. The last part of the verse that I'll mention to you, just keep it in mind, it's not been revealed yet. There's a reason for it. The last portion of the verse says, وَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلْ فَمَا بَلَّغْتَ رِسَالَتَهُ. That is not revealed here. Twice, the first portion is revealed without the last portion. One verse, the whole thing is not revealed in one go. Once, second time, emphasis. The Prophet does not, apparently, according to what I have read, he does not pronounce, or he does not mention this entire verse to the people yet. The Prophet knows, based on how this verse is revealed, this is not the context for this message that Allah wants delivered to people to be delivered here. While the beginning of the verse is mentioned in Mina, the Prophet doesn't talk about wilayah in Mina. Okay. It's revealed again in Mecca. The Prophet doesn't talk about it in Mecca. That's not the location. That's not the place. That's not the time. Where is the last part, the first and last part of the verse revealed? When they leave Mecca, they move toward Medina. In Ghadeer, the angel comes down. This is the place. Ya ayyuha rasul balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik wa illam taf'al fama ballaghta risalatah. A very important verse. O Messenger, tell the people what God has told you. If you do not, then you have not delivered any message. It's like 23 years went in vain. You did nothing. This one thing is that important, and then after the Prophet delivers that message in the way you've all heard, setting up a pulpit that is visible, taking Ali, that he's already on multiple occasions told the people that he is someone special. The Prophet made it crystal clear, Ali is not a companion like other companions. He made it crystal clear. with his behavior toward Ali. He sent different people on expeditions. They came back to Medina. The Prophet greeted them, Salamun alaikum, thank you, how was it, this, that, the other. Ali's coming back from expedition. The Prophet goes out of Medina to receive him. He wants to show there's a difference. Ali is different. And people caught wind of that. That was very clear. It was very clear. This is important for understanding why. Why is it that it's the first part of the verse is revealed a couple of times, but the last part isn't, which means that while this is an important message, the people in Hajjatul Wada need to hear it. In a gathering that large, they need to hear it, but not in Mina, not in Mecca. Where? In the middle of the desert. The Prophet, who was made very clear, Ali is special. Ali knows in that battle that they were leaving town and the Prophet left Ali behind. Some people who had seen the special treatment, this jealousy is already triggered. They didn't like, they took advantage of that. They said, Ali is a coward. I don't know how they could say that. The champion of all the battles from Badr onwards. In Uhud, that everyone fled, everyone ran. The one person standing by the Prophet, the main person standing by the Prophet. God knows how many wounds to protect and defend the Prophet. Men went besides the Prophet and Ali, the main person. One woman stayed and defended the Prophet. Others left. Some of those people who've left are saying what? Oh, look, the Prophet doesn't want to take Ali because, he's a coward or whatever they said. Ali is not bothered by these things, but things need to be cleared up. He goes to the Prophet, he says, this is what is being said. The Prophet said, isn't it the case, or in the Arabic wording, isn't it enough that أنت مني بمنزلة هارون بن موسى إلا أنه لا نبي بعدي? He's making it clear. Not once or twice. I'm just giving you, just briefly, very briefly, not today. This is Medina. These instances are in Medina. On the day of أنذر عشيرتك الأقربين, the first day that he's going public, fully public with the message of Islam, the first stage is bring عشيرتك الأقربين, the ones who are closest, your uncles, your relatives from Quraysh. His announcement, everyone's heard this. He says, who will accept my call to become my wazir and my wasi and my khalifa? Okay. Who will? They laughed at the Prophet. The only person who stood up was Ali. Not once he gave them another chance. He said, sit down. Another time it's repeated. Third time it's repeated. Ali stands up. They're laughing at the Prophet. Khilafah? What are you talking about? Remember, you've heard Surah Al-Kawthar. In Surah Al-Kawthar, God tells us what they used to tell the Prophet. This is not going to last. This is not going to go on. You're going to die out. You don't have a son and you don't have followers. At that time, at the beginning of the mission, in their mind, this guy's in their mind. Al-ayadu billah. God forgive me for saying this, but the Quran says, they said this, he's a lunatic. What does he think? Anyone's going to accept this? Now he's talking about khilafah. After you, he's going to continue. Give me a break. That's their thought process. Ali, of course, is different. Ali is very different. Ali is Walidul Kaaba. Ali walks out in his mother's arms, and according to accounts, says salam to the Prophet a few days old as Rasulullah. Okay. He speaks, and don't think that is not possible. God tells us Jesus spoke. No, definitely. If Jesus spoke, Ali could definitely speak. Ali is different. Ali is only between 10 and 13. I don't know the exact age when this session takes place. And mind you, he's the one that sets up the session. He cooks the food, a 10, 12, 13-year-old. The Prophet relies on him. He stands up. Not in Medina. From the early days, the Prophet makes it crystal clear. Ali is different, and Ali is the person that would carry on this mission after the Prophet. That's made clear. Okay. What is it that now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what's new? Let me put it in those words. What's new? Didn't he already say that? The accounts say. The Prophet said, who will accept this call for them to become my Khalifa? If he's just simply announcing his Khalifa, what's new? That's already been announced. That has already been announced. Not today, not last year. In Mecca, it's already been announced. People have heard that. And why is it being announced in this way? Why is it being announced in the middle of the desert? Why not in Medina? Why not in Mecca? There were more people in Mecca, that's for sure. Some people had departed, some people were not there. These are some of the stronger believers, some of the people that have spent more time with the Prophet, some of the more influential figures. But if we're talking about numbers, the numbers present in Mecca during Hajj, during the Tawaf, during Mina, during Arafat were larger. It was a larger crowd. Why not there? Why is it the first part is revealed there, but the last part isn't, which tells the Prophet this is not the place. But now in Ghadeer, in the middle of this, suddenly, يا أيها الرسول بلغ ما أنزل إليك من ربك وإن لم تفعل فما بلغت رسالته. Is that important? You have to do this, and then once it's done, the other verse is revealed. اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. Now it's complete. When it was incomplete, a partial message, an incomplete message, it's as though you haven't done anything. If this important teaching, which by the way, after that there were other verses that were revealed, verses of the Quran are still being revealed after Ghadeer. So that tells you it's not the last thing that the Prophet taught. It tells you the importance of that. That makes it complete. Other verses are going to come, it's important. But in terms of teachings, it is that teaching that اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي. What is it? What is this teaching? Recite salawat, please. And then I want you to keep in mind, when we want to have this conversation and go over some of this history, I want to tell you why I'm bringing this up, talking about this, what conclusion, what direction am I taking this? I want to understand, I want to move toward an understanding of then why is it, if this is what happened here, this is how clear it was, this is how it was pronounced, what is it that happens just a couple months later, which we all know, and we'll briefly touch on that. But more importantly, what others do is what they do. Okay. People don't respect what Ali says after the Prophet is what they do. People don't show loyalty to their pledge of allegiance that they gave on Ghadeer, on the day of Ghadeer, on the 18th of Dhul Hajjah. While the Prophet is there, by the order of the Prophet, they don't value that, they're not loyal to that. That's what they're doing. Okay, that's them. What about Ali? What does Ali do when they are doing that? We have to understand, and I hope I can do this briefly. Again, I apologize. I'm trying to make this brief, but we might have to go over a little over time. Recite a salawat, please. There's something that's being mentioned here in Ghadeer that is different than the term Khilafah that was used before. Khilafah, we've heard it so many times in the context of certain individuals after the demise of the Prophet, repeated, and those are the words we hear all the time. It's sort of developed a meaning that is different than the original meaning of the word. Khalifa just means a successor, someone that comes after the other. That's all that word means. So when the Prophet in Mecca said, who wants to do this? Who wants to accept this? Who's willing to accept it to be my assistant now, my wazir, my assistant? And then my wasi, and someone who will take over after me. That's all that word meant. There's no further explanation there. There's no further guidance there. It doesn't talk about what this relationship is. Rasulullah is Rasulullah. Okay, this person is not going to be known as Rasulullah. The Prophet didn't refer to him as Rasulullah. He didn't refer to himself as Rasulullah. Fatima Zahra did not refer to him as Rasulullah. Hassan ibn Ali did not refer to him as Rasulullah. Nobody refers to him as Rasulullah. Okay. If he is succeeding him in what? What continues? What's the relationship between this man and the people? Okay, he succeeds the Prophet. The Prophet's doing something. There's a direction that God has given the Prophet. There's a goal. Through these teachings, the Prophet is trying to guide mankind toward that end goal, that end game. Okay, that's what he's doing. Ali ibn Abi Talib is going to succeed him in guiding people in that direction. Okay, that's said over there. What's the relationship that now you're going to have that starts with Ali, doesn't end with him? That hasn't been explained. Okay. That's not something that was said earlier. Now this concept is being presented. The Prophet uses something they're somewhat familiar with, and then he talks about what that relationship that will continue. He says, أَلَسْتُ بِأَوْلَى لَكُمْ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ or مِنْكُمْ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ. Do I not have wilaya over you? That's mentioned in the Quran. Okay. That the Prophet is أَوْلَى مِنْكُمْ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ. I think the one word I'm not remembering right in that verse, but most of those words are from the verse. There's one word I'm not getting it right for some reason. I think I'm not getting it right. Anyhow, you can refer and get the full wording of it in the verse. He reminds them and asks them, do you all believe in what has been presented to you? God gave me that message, I gave it to you. One of those lines is that the Prophet is awla to you than yourselves. He's got wilaya over you. Is that not the case? They said, yes, bala, ya Rasulallah. He said, man kuntu mawla fa aliyun mawla. The relationship is that of wilaya. The wilaya of the Prophet is now going to carry over to Ali. Because the Prophet is the first one that had that wilaya. He said, man kuntu mawla fa aliyun mawla. The relationship, the Rasulullah was Rasulullah. That's part of the description for the Rasul. The other word that's used is Nabi, Ya ayyuhan Nabi. Okay. Well, one of the other things that's there, and he's the Imam, by the way. He's the leader, obviously. That's the term that just means leader. But the Quran says that he's awla, so he's got wala. Innama, the other verse that you're all familiar with. Innama waliyukumullahu wa rasuluhu walladhina amanu was Ali. That description fits only Ali. It's very clear. It talks about it's not giving a generic description that anyone can have. Alladhina amanu, alladhina yuqimuna as-salah wa yu'tuna az-zakah wa hum raki'un. Giving charity in ruku' was not something that was even recommended. It's not like, oh, whoever does this. It's not like, oh, generally people who pray and people who give charity. No, it's a very specific description. The only one who had done that right before this verse is revealed is Ali ibn Abi Talib. It's clearly referring to that person. إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا والذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون. Okay. Wilayah starts with the Prophet. What he will succeed, your relationship is what? Is who? Is Ali ibn. The wilayah carries over with Ali ibn Abi Talib. He makes it clear in that way. In that way. Again, let me briefly explain this. There are the same way that the verse is revealed a couple of times, Ya ayyuha rasul balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik, a couple of times before the final and complete version of it is revealed. The idea of wilayah of Ali is also something that was mentioned. We just mentioned innama waliyukumullah is not mentioned here. It's not revealed here. It's not revealed in Hajjatul Wada. It's revealed earlier. That's also, they're introduced to the idea, but they didn't get it. This session is more than just saying, okay, there's this thing called the wilayah of Ali. No. You have to understand what that wilayah means to make it clear that this is not just friendship. To make it clear, it's not just friendship. There's two other things that happen there to make it clear. One, the title Amirul Mu'mineen is given to Ali here. And two, they're told to do bay'ah with him there. In some stories, I guess they censor this part. They pledged bay'ah. What does that mean? It's very clear what it means. I encourage all of us to not take any teaching of Islam that we're already familiar with as something that, oh, we already know that, we don't need to learn anymore. As someone who has spent some time studying Islam, someone who grew up as a Muslim, someone who grew up as a Shia, someone who went to the majalis and heard different speakers, different scholars say things, looking at the matter and reading books and studying and thinking and analyzing, there's a lot more to these events that we need to investigate. And you can come and sit and hear a talk on it, but it's not the same as you sitting down and looking at the data that you have and seeing what you're missing and trying to analyze. Do that on your own. I'm trying to present something and I can't give you a complete picture. For example, I said God revealed those verses, but the place wasn't in Mina and wasn't in Mecca. Why? Ask that question and go over and try to see why that is. See if you can come up with a reason. I think there's reasons. There's definitely a reason. But can we come up with it? Can we understand why? Which will help us. Help us understand everything. We can't talk about Ghadeer in this way, and then a couple of months later, something totally different happens. Saqifatu Bani Sa'ida is set up by the Ansar that the Quran praises in Surah Al-Hashr and elsewhere. These are the same people. The Muhajirin and Ansar, but it was set up, but Saqifatu Bani Sa'ida is set up by the Ansar, the ones that the Quran praises so many times. The Prophet praised them. They set it up. Okay? It wasn't others. There were people that had plans for after the demise of the Prophet. It's clear when the Prophet was in his last days and he was ill, his body was not functioning as usual as he would. He wanted to have someone lead the prayers. He had sent people to go for battle. They were supposed to be out of town. He told his wife, can you tell Ali to go and lead prayers? It's Fajr time. He didn't want to get up. He couldn't get up. It was difficult for him. Send Ali to go. She said, I'll tell my father. Oh, your father's not supposed to be here. Your father's not supposed to be here. When the session is, people are in the presence of the Prophet, his perhaps last day, last moments, the Prophet ﷺ asks for a pen and paper for those who think there's this wrong understanding that many of us have that the Prophet was illiterate. That's incorrect. Al-ayadhu billah. That's not true. The Prophet was not illiterate. The Prophet was ummi. Ummi means he was never taught. Doesn't mean he didn't know how to read and write. There's clear historic evidence that in Medina the Prophet started to write his letters himself without being taught. Of course, yes. When he asked for pen and paper, he wants to write something down. His own blessed hand, his own blessed writing. He says, give me pen and paper, I want to write. It was clear what he wanted to write. He passed out, his body is not functioning normally, he's ill. It's his last moments, this is how God's going to take his life. And this is a test from God. As soon as he passes out, somebody wants to get up, he says, the mal'oon, la'anatullah. Whoever says this to the Rasulullah, doesn't matter what their name is. Whoever says, inna rajula la yahjur, la'anatullah alayh. The Prophet is saying nonsense, he doesn't know what he's saying. How dare you say anything like that? The Prophet is back and they say, should we get the pen and paper? He makes it clear why some of these people really did not believe this is Rasulullah. And I encourage us, brothers, sisters, we have all this praise for Ali. Do we take Ali as what he is? Do we believe in Aliyun ma'al haqq wal haqqu ma'a Ali? Do we take every word that he says that seriously? Every single word? Or love of Ali is great. You want to just leave it at that? Do we want to just leave it at that? Inshallah, you're not. But we need these reminders. Sometimes I feel we don't take every letter said by Ali as seriously as we should. Every word has got to be taken very seriously. Rasulullah is back, meaning his body is now functional. Rasulullah is not this body. They asked him, should we get pen and paper? He said, Aba'dama, after what was said? Once that thing is said, doesn't matter if he writes something. Oh, inna rajula la yahju, la'anatullah alayh. It's clear they had plans. But the ones who set up Saqifatu Bani Sa'ida were not the ones who had plans. The ones who set up Saqifatu Bani Sa'ida were the people that were loyal to the Prophet, not fully, not all the way, not as much as they should have been. There's ignorance. We make stupid mistakes. The reason why they set it up is because of the plans that they were aware of people had. They knew people have other plans. Ali is not going to be the ruler after the Prophet. And they said, what do we do? If they take government, then we're going to be nobodies again. Let's choose a governor from amongst ourselves. That was their conversation. That's what it says they did. And then others got wind of it. Others who became the first khalifas, they got wind of that. They had plans. They came over. They divided and conquered. They divided the two tribes of the Ansar, the Aus and Khazraj, who had issues with one another before Islam. In fact, the reason why they came to learn about that session was because of that. One of the members of the other tribe that saw the head of this tribe is becoming that Khalifa or whatever, the governor, couldn't take it. He left the session, went and informed them. They came over. The net outcome of it is somebody else. Doesn't matter who it is. We don't care about names right now. Okay. This is what they did. What did Amir al-Mu'mineen do? Wilaya is that important. Let me remind us why I mentioned the first part to get to this. Let's understand from this perspective. Wilaya is that important, isn't it? It's that important that God says in the Quran, if you don't explain this, the full concept and the person, that openly, that clearly, then you have not delivered anything. And once it's delivered, al-yawm akmaltu, isn't it that important? Isn't Ali the one who's given that responsibility? We look at it as the right of Ali was usurped. That's correct. It's a right that he had. But it's not only a right, it's an obligation. God gave him that obligation. It's not a luxury. Ali's not looking for luxury. It's a responsibility, it's an obligation. He's been given the responsibility to continue leading the ummah after the Prophet, and the people are told, recognize your leader after the Prophet, the one who will guide you to move forward in the direction that the Prophet has laid out. The one who knows, أَنَا مَدِينَةُ الْعِلْمِ وَعَلِيٌّ بَابُهَا. He has the knowledge, he's given it to Ali. Of course, in ways that we need to understand. أنا مدينة العلم وعلي بابها doesn't mean that Ali had to learn everything from the Prophet. The Prophet knows this, Ali knows this. In Khutbah Qasa, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, when in the cave of Hira, the Prophet was receiving revelation, I saw what the Prophet saw. And I heard what the Prophet heard. Not only that, there's other accounts. This is crystal clear. The angel came to the Prophet, taught him adhan. The angel left. The Prophet looked at Ali. Did you hear? He said, yes. He said, go tell the people what the adhan is. It's not once or twice. Sure, there are times when the Prophet says things to him. That's also there too. But I'm just emphasizing that there's more to it. When after the demise of the Prophet, he's not like, okay, I don't have my mentor around and, books. Let me see what this book said. No. It's a very gross misunderstanding. Aliyun ma'al haqq wal haqqu ma'a Ali is only possible if Ali is guided by Allah through the same process or similar process. It's a divine guidance. He knows the Quran as it was revealed on the Prophet. Not through the wording that you and I have to struggle and figure out what this wording is. He doesn't need wording. He knows exactly what that wording is intended by God. Every little detail it's given to him in his heart. Okay. He's got this obligation. It's a responsibility. What does Ali do when they do that? I'll tell you historically, and we need to analyze. We want to learn something here. First of all, the Prophet had ordered Ali to do specific things. First, take care of the body of the Prophet. Sallallahu alayhi. La'natullah ala al-qawm al-zalimin. Your Prophet just passed. His body is not buried yet. And you're worried about who's going to rule. Ali did not care. For many reasons. But one of them is, he was ordered. One of the commands of the Prophet was, take care of this body in the way that he did. 3 days they did the prayers. They came, Amir al-Mu'mineen allowed people to come and perform prayer, group after group. Then another thing that was said for the Prophet, or for Ali to do after the demise of the Prophet, as the only one person that had every single word of the Quran, not only by heart, but also in writing during the lifetime of the Prophet. Only one person had that, and that was Ali. The Prophet told him, take care of that. That was one of the things that he did. He organized it based on what God has said. He prepared that. He's doing these things while they're busy talking about how they're going to do what they ended up doing or what they were doing. News gets to Ali. Okay. When the first part of what he was doing, while he was burying the Prophet, one account says this. I heard this from one of the ulama. I didn't read the actual text, but it was one of those very knowledgeable ulama who's careful with his narrations. He says Amir al-Mu'mineen was leveling out the grave. This is after the prayers are done, the few days. So it's like 3 days after the demise of the Prophet. He's leveling the grave. After putting him in the grave, covering it up with the soil, he's leveling the grave. They come and tell him that. He says he puts the shovel in the earth. He straightens back. And he says, أَحَسِبَ النَّاسِ Surah Al-Ankabut أَحَسِبَ النَّاسِ أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. Do people believe, or do people think, they assume that we're going to leave them to say we believe and they're not going to be tested? Ali already knows. The Prophet already had told him. The Prophet told him he knows as Ali. Both of those are true. He knows as Ali independently, and the Prophet had told him. He knows what's going to be happening. What is his response? We want to learn from his response. The whole thing is, look how important walaya is. You've heard all that stuff. I reminded you of some of the things you already knew. Of the importance of walaya. This obligation of wilaya is manifesting in Ali. Ali is the one responsible to have wilaya toward the people. It's a two-way relationship. People have an obligation toward him. He has an obligation toward people. If they didn't do their part, what is his part? What is he supposed to do? What does he do? He's calm. He's calm. He's not panicking. He doesn't send, oh, you go to Saqifa, talk to them. No, give them time. Let them do whatever the heck they want. They start going and taking that session of Saqifatu Bani Sa'ida ends with the first Khalifa being some people, not everybody there, not everybody even in that session, pledge allegiance to the first Khalifa that we know. It's not over though. They know it's not over because people have heard other things. They are changing the course. This is a coup. It doesn't happen in one session. They have to get people to come. So they do different things. They're working on getting pledges of allegiance. They go and establish themselves in the masjid of the Prophet. They're giving talks, talking to people, giving sermons, whatever. Others are talking because it's not established that they're the Khalifa yet. It's a process. Ali lets them do what they have to do. Eventually, Ali starts coming forth. What does he do? Talk. He talks. What did they do? Let me make that clear very briefly. Again, in Fatimiyya, I usually mention all the details, but very briefly. They didn't just talk. They lied. Still talking, but it's important. It's lying. Then, besides talk, they bribed tribes to take their side. What tribes? Tribes who were known as thugs. To come forward and take bay'ah from people. People were forced to pledge allegiance. Some people were forced. They didn't on their own. This notion that, there were elections for the first Khilafah of the first Khalifa, that's a lie. That is a lie. Unless the likes of elections during the time of the Shah or kings are like, you say, elections. What elections? Yeah, people pledged, but they were forced. Threats, not only threats, after this process you've heard, they sent out letters, people need to pay zakat now. Like, you're not the Khalifa, that's what they said. We're not going to give it to you. What did they do? They sent troops. They killed people. And did worse. I don't want to get to. Some of you have probably heard some of those details. This is what they did. What does Ali do? The champion of Khaybar, the champion of Badr, the champion of Uhud, the one who no one can compare themselves when it comes to combat as a soldier, as a commander, as a warrior, managing warfare. In terms of lecturing people, if he were to use methods, techniques, that you can get people on your side, does anyone stand a chance against Ali? No. But this man who has all these abilities, what does he do? He comes to the masjid and he talks. Fatimatu Zahra also comes to the masjid and talks. Another salawat, please. Allahumma salli. For another session, inshallah, talking about Fatimatu Zahra in this scene. Fatimatu Zahra is a Sadiqatul Kubra, Ruhi Fidaha. She's a whole another thing. Unfortunately, I'm not able to discuss that. She and what she did, I'm not going to discuss. Ali, but she does similarly. Briefly, talk. That's what Fatimatu Zahra does. Talking. Explaining. Explaining what the Prophet said, explaining what was right, explaining and reminding people what they did, what they had accepted, what was clear to them. Reminders. The Quran says, فَذَكِّرْ, remind. Ali reminded, continuing the direction of the Prophet, This is how guidance works. Explain to the people need to choose what's right. They need to choose what's right. It doesn't matter if Ali knows what's right. And they know what's right. Ali is not supposed to use techniques and methods that are going to get people to do what's right without them choosing what's right, but for some other reason. I'll give you one example. One of the sermons that Ali delivers in the masjid, in the sermon, very powerful, obviously, Ali is the master of speech. The art of speaking is a student of Ali. He gives a speech, a very powerful speech. In it he says, if I had 300, he doesn't say the number, he said, if I had the number of companions the Prophet had in Badr, I would not let them do what they're doing. Okay. All right? You've heard that, I'm sure you've heard that. But listen to the whole story on this. He said that, right? Okay. What happened? 360 people came forward. But where and when? Right there and then. After they heard the fiery talk of Ali, they got emotional. They came forward. What did Ali say? He said, not now. I don't want you to make an emotional decision. I'm not here to get you emotional, to get you to do something. That's what the others did. They played on the emotions of people. They didn't want the people, the whole purpose of Saqifatu Bani Sa'ida was to make sure that one of the Ansar becomes the Khalifa. They played the game where the people who gathered to make sure one of the Ansar becomes Khalifa gives bay'ah to whom? Someone who's not one of the Ansar. They played tricks. Afterwards, people are thinking, hey, what happened? We came here for this purpose, look what happened. The opposite. I mean, go read for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Their whole conversation there was, we need to have a Khalifa from us. What's the outcome? The Khalifa is not from them. Who? The same people. How did they do it? Whatever method they use, they press the buttons on people because they're not looking for guidance. But Ali is not looking for government. He's looking for guidance. The government that is based on guidance is the one he wants. If people choose that government, he wants it. That's why 25 years they come, 25 years later they come. Everyone comes. We want you. He says, you don't want me. Let me explain. This is who I am. Are you sure? He doesn't say, oh, they're here already. Everybody's here. Let's do this. No. Again, that's another example. Ali is not interested in anything except for the guidance of the people. That's continuing. That's Khalifatu Rasulillah. Because he's continuing with what Rasulullah did. Not taking governance after the Prophet. That's not being a successor to Rasulullah. You went against the methods of the Prophet, against the teachings of the Prophet, against the wilayah of the Prophet. And then you call yourself Khalifatu Rasulillah. No, this is Khalifatu Rasulillah. Even though he didn't have government. Because he followed the method of Rasulullah. People need to choose. I don't want an emotional decision. You got emotional because I reminded you of things. People were crying. Sayyidatu Nisa al-Alamin salamullahi alayha wa ruhi laha al-fida gave a speech. Everyone cried. That was a reminder. But because of an emotional speech, I don't want you to make a decision emotionally. You have to understand what you're doing. Ali could have easily, very easily threatened people. They threatened people. They paid those thugs that walked around town with weapons and what have you. Word got around, if you don't pledge allegiance, you're in trouble. Threats. Ali could have easily threatened. Ali could have easily battled them and defeated them. Come on. The Battle of Khaybar, Ali is the one single-handedly winning that battle. Okay. But it's not about that. It's about people choosing to do the right thing. God's way in governance and social political things is that people collectively need to choose the right path. That's why Ali said the number of people in Badr. There's got to be a fi'ah, a group from amongst you that forms, and that would have done away with any type of battle. There wouldn't have been a battle. If 313, as Ali said very accurately, if there were 313 and no more, that would have accepted and chosen to be there, not emotionally, not based on threats, not based on bribes, none of that. Because they knew that Ali is ma'al haq wal haqqu ma'a Ali. If they would have chosen him for that reason, then Ali would have taken the Dhul-Fiqar out. And with him taking the Dhul-Fiqar out, no one else would have done so. No one else would come to the door and try to burn the door. They wouldn't have. They couldn't have. I don't know if I'm able to articulate this in a way where I get the point across. See, our thought process many times is that the goal was the governance of Ali. They took that away from him because people didn't support him, and then questions remain unanswered. Well, could they have defeated Ali? No. Then say, why didn't he? The Prophet told him. But why did the Prophet tell him not to? We don't have answers for these questions. This is the reason. The relationship of wilayah is a divine relationship between a divinely guided man with the ummah, but the ummah needs to choose that divinely guided man. If they don't choose him, he doesn't have an obligation. In fact, his obligation is not to take governance through these other methods, because governance is not the objective. Guidance is the objective. And that's generally how guidance works in Islam, brothers and sisters. When we talk about, there's a lot of different applications to this idea if we understand this concept of wilayah, the way Islam says. There's a lot of different applications. In the house, how do we train our next generation? Sometimes we think we need to make that child pray, make that child do this, say that, read the Quran. No. The objective isn't to make that person, when I see him, oh, he learned how to say Surah Tawheed, like, oh, Alhamdulillah. No. The important thing is for them to choose to read Surah Tawheed. If you can have an influence on them where they want this, that's the right guidance. Okay. Not twisting their hand to get them to do something. No. They need to choose. In the community, which right now what we have are centers, if we think something is wrong, there needs to be change. If we think that certain things need to happen differently or a different idea needs to be presented, the way it happens is this: you need to present it, let people choose. You don't go in with an idea how we're going to do this and make sure we get the outcome we want. That's not Islam. Islam is what the Prophet did. Islam is what Ali did. You have to present what you think is right. Let people choose. If people chose the right thing, Alhamdulillah. If they didn't, I did my taklif just like Ali. Learn from Ali. You as a parent, like, but what if he doesn't pray? It's none of your business, my child at home. Like, oh, I need to wake him up. Did you pray? Did you pray? Did you pray? Did Ali do that? Is that how it's done? Or you get the word across. This concept of Amr al-Ma'ruf wa Nahi an al-Munkar, it's misunderstood a lot. Amr al-Ma'ruf Nahi al-Munkar, oh, I see this sister not wearing hijab the way I think. I'm like, oh, sister, you gotta. Or this brother's not doing things the way I think things need to be done. I have to go up to them, brother, why are you turning down that music? Or turn off that music, it's haram, this is haram. That's not Amr bil-Ma'ruf wa Nahi an al-Munkar. Amr bil-Ma'ruf wa Nahi an al-Munkar is that if you know something is right, promote it in the community. Let people choose. If something is haram, explain to the people, here's the verse. This is what God says. Or if we don't have access to that, which I encourage, get access to that. If all we have is the fatwa of the marajers, like, okay, that's all I know. The fatwa that I know is that this is, then whether they do it, they go by it or not, it's their thing. It's not your thing. And I don't need to walk up to them every time I'm looking at people, I'm just waiting for someone to make a mistake. Oh, brother, sister, you need to do this. No. Just go promote the right message. What's the proof for that? Ali, it wasn't, first of all, he knew from ilm al-ghayb, let's leave that aside. They came and told him they're doing this in Saqifatu Bani Sa'ada. Did he say, oh, Amr al-Ma'ruf Nahi al-Munkar, I need to go right there, right now, send somebody, I can't go myself because this is my obligation, send this person, that person. No. They're doing their thing. He has his opportunity, he goes. After they've done a lot of things, he goes to the masjid, he delivers. That's Amr bil Ma'ruf to the general public. Not walking up to this guy, oh, you did this, you did this. General public, speak to the public. In the community, we need to have Ma'ruf reminded. Good and bad need to be explained so people know this is good and that is bad. That's Amr Ma'ruf wa Nahi an Munkar. Walking up to this person, my child, my spouse, my whatever, or inside the center, oh brothers, you need, no. That rough behavior doesn't come from Ali. It doesn't come from Islam. It comes from a different source. The direction, now something a little more relevant to this, the wilayah of the Ahlul Bayt that is supposed to become global, and it will, God has promised. We read, you read, all of you read, all of us read, Allahumma kulli waliyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan. Okay. By the way, that dua did not start with al-Hujjah ibn al-Hasan. It started with the Prophet. It was supposed to be read at the time of the Prophet, regarding the Prophet, for the Prophet, by us, by the mu'mineen. But at the time of the 12th Imam, we read this about the 12th Imam, Allahumma kulli waliyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan. And then we end that dua with what? Hatta tuskinahu aradaka taw'a. That means until God makes the Imam live on earth where the world, the earth, people want him. They choose him. If we are commemorating Eidullah al-Akbar, the wilayah of Allah on earth that manifested in the form of Ali on that day, on 18th of Dhul Hijjah of the year 11 or 10, of the Hijri calendar, which then continued after that. That wilayah manifests in the 12th Imam. If we want to be awliya of the 12th Imam, if we want to be part of the process of making his wilayah global, the path is exactly that. We need to explain that to people, let people choose. But explaining that to people gives us a taklif. We have an obligation here. Do we know that wilayah? Do we know what that wilayah means? Do we know what that relationship is? Do we know if we're calling people toward that Imam is a leader, or we're going to leave people in the dark because we're in the dark about what he's leading us toward? Are we going to allow some of the narrations that we have that we hear, oh, when the Imam comes, we got to be ready for jihad. Okay, so when the Imam comes, then you're ready for what? Bloodshed? Is that what you're ready for? Is that what the Imam? That's what some of the descriptions I hear. People are like, oh yeah, there's going to be wars, there's going to be this, there's going to be that. So the Imam's going to wage war? Is that how he's going to win over the world? That's not what these ahadith say. That's not what Amir al-Mu'mineen teaches us. That's not how that's going to happen. Sure, the other side is going to fight. From day one, the Prophet did not engage in war with the kuffar. The kuffar engaged in war with the Prophet, and he defended. Right now, people want wilayatullah. In Gaza, they want wilayatullah. Say, look, it's the land God gave us. You can't take it away from us. We want to govern it the way we want, based on what God has told us. They're like, no, you can't. We're going to burn you alive. Okay, we're going to fight back, and we're going to do that very well. Okay. We didn't start no war. October 7th isn't the beginning of a war. I waged a war many decades ago, and it continues in different forms. They're trying to influence all of our countries, the Muslim countries, from Indonesia and Malaysia in the east, all the way in the east, all the way to Morocco and northwest of Africa. They want to have people who look like Muslims rule, like Al Saud and others. We didn't wage war. We don't wage war. The 12th Imam is not about waging war. Don't get yourself ready for that. Get yourself ready for promoting the wilayah of the Ahlul Bayt as it is. People need to choose it. And of course, be ready, because when you promote the wilayah of the Ahlul Bayt the way it is, others will want to fight you. Be ready for that. But don't promote, when you want to preach this idea of wilayah of the Ahlul Bayt, they ask you, so what is it going to be like? Like, oh yeah, all these people are going to get killed. I've heard some people say most of the population of the world is going to get killed. Why should anyone want to follow the wilayah of a man who's going to come and destroy most of the world? He's not going to destroy most of the world. Others are. Look at what they do in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They killed hundreds of thousands of people in a matter of seconds. These are the people who killed. They wiped out, God knows how many Native Americans in this country. They wipe out people. Over 100,000 people in Iraq, that's what they do. In Vietnam, in Korea, in Afghanistan. They supported the burning of Muslims in Burma. That's what they are. We're not like that. That's not what the 12th Imam is about. He's not going to come and wage war and, I don't know, kill half the population of the world. No, that's nothing to look forward to. The Jews had a description of the Prophet. The description says that he's going to have his sword. One of the descriptions that we've heard in our account. He's going to have his sword. Yeah, the Prophet's going to have his sword. He didn't wage war. He didn't start war. When they came forward, he dealt with them. The wilayah of the Ahlul Bayt deserves the Shia who believe in it, who know it, to know it better, to know it with more detail, both the history of it, the depth of it, the current aspect of it. What does that mean today? What does it mean for the future? What does that mean for the 12th Imam? And promote it and allow people to choose. Allow people to choose. That's how always our method is going to be. When the 12th Imam comes, explain the truth, let people choose. Of course, and if anybody wants to wage war, yeah, we'll defend. But we're not going to make anyone Muslim. We're not going to force anyone to be Muslim. We're not going to force anyone to be Shia. Never. Never. You explain the truth, let people choose. That's what Ali did. That's what haqq is, because Ali is ma'al haqq wal haqqu ma'a Ali. Inshallah, we learn that movement, that direction. Ya Allah, by the right of Ali, take us in the direction of Ali. Ya Ali, we claim to be your Shia, and I apologize for making that claim, but you make us your Shia. Ya Allah, by the right of Fatimatul Zahra, the one who connected the ummah with the wali, make us of the Shia of Ali. Ya Allah, forgive us all of our sins. Ya Allah, hasten the return of our Imam. Ya Allah, allow us to be his true and close companions. Ya Allah, Help all those who are helping his cause, especially our ulama, our maraja, above all our leader. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help all those who are suffering from hardships, difficulties, illnesses. Grant all of us our hajat, especially the people of Gaza that are currently suffering very difficult times. The whole world is watching. And the powerful nations and countries and governments are forcing everyone to watch it and not interfere, not put an end to this. Ya Allah, relieve them sooner rather than later by the right of the Ahlul Bayt, by the right of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Enlighten all of their hearts and all of our hearts with the light of Ali and the Ahlul Bayt, inshallah. Bin Nabi wa alih, rahimallah man qara al-Fatihata ma'a as-salawat.
جزاك الله.